And we are back. Welcome to my final predictions video for the Champions League group stage. Before we get into it, if you missed last night's reaction and honest reflection of Manchester United's group stage performance, please make sure to check that video out. It will be available in the description and in the linked video at the end of this video. As for tonight, we have got the final 8 games in the Champions League group stage, and there are still a few things on the line to be decided this evening. So if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video and subscribing to the channel if you're new around here. We will, of course, have all of the final matches from the Europa League and the Europa Conference League in tomorrow's video, so you won't want to miss that one as well. Let's get into the final day of the Champions League, and we kick off in Group E with a top-of-the-table decider between Atletico Madrid and Lazio. For Atletico, it is very simple. Avoid defeat tonight, and the top spot is theirs. Lazio simply have to win. However, like I say, both these sides are already through. This group is pretty much decided other than this top 2 clash. So it just comes down to who I think is going to win on the night. I look at it and I think Atletico are just a little bit too strong for Lazio. You'd have to think that given Atletico's history of solid defensive performances, even though they've not been as good defensively this season, I still think they're going to be a little bit too much for Lazio, who have been mixed in terms of their form. Certainly domestically, they have been better in Europe. But I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Atletico. I think all around that is just about a fair result. Could maybe see it being 2-1. The other game in the group is pretty much worth nothing. Celtic are guaranteed to finish bottom. Feyenoord are guaranteed to finish in the Europa League play. So it's basically a free hit for both sides. Both have relatively simple games domestically at the weekend. So we may see them play their strongest sides just as a way to sort of sign off for the Champions League season. I think on paper Feyenoord are way better than Celtic. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Feyenoord. But we shall see. Like I say, this is very much either side could play pretty much anyone tonight, and depending on who they play will affect the result, etc, etc. This really could be anything. I just think Feyenoord are more likely to win. On to the group of death then. It is Group F. It is Dortmund, PSG, Newcastle and AC Milan, and bizarrely that is exactly how the group currently stands. In terms of the ramifications for tonight, Borussia Dortmund simply have to avoid defeat to leave the door open for Newcastle. Dortmund have to beat PSG to leave the door open for AC Milan due to the respective countbacks. Regardless, Newcastle and AC Milan both have to win the game at St James's Park tonight to give themselves any chance of qualifying for the knockout stages. For Borussia Dortmund, they just have to avoid defeat against PSG to guarantee top spot. So there is a lot of things on the line tonight. The real question is whether or not Borussia Dortmund are going to rest players, because they are guaranteed to qualify whatever happens this evening. So I think Dortmund will still play their first team. I think they're going to want to guarantee top spot, but I still think with PSG needing to win to guarantee themselves a spot in the next round, I think it's going to be a very open game, very end-to-end, and I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw for Borussia Dortmund and PSG. That will mean that whatever happens in the other game this evening, AC Milan will be out because on countback, they cannot overhaul PSG. However, if they do win, they will get the Europa League spot. Newcastle, on the other hand, though, if they win off the back of Dortmund and PSG drawing, granted both games are being played at the same time, Newcastle will progress at the expense of PSG due to that superior countback in the previous results. At home this season, Newcastle have been very, very good. In Europe and domestically, away from home, AC Milan have been pretty terrible. So, with that said, I'm going to give Newcastle the 2-1 win. And if the results go that way, Newcastle will be through and PSG will drop in to the Europa League. On to Group G, and we start off with Zvezda taking on Manchester City. This is the early games tonight, this group. I don't think it really matters what side Man City put out tonight. I would expect them to play a very weakened side, given the fact that they've got Crystal Palace at the weekend. Then they're jetting off to Saudi for the Club World Cup. I still think they'll be too strong for Red Star, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for them. The other game sees RB Leipzig taking on Young Boys. Again, Leipzig already through. Young Boys already guaranteed to finish runners-up in the Europa League spot in this group because of their countback record over Zvezda. Again, I don't really think it matters what happens tonight. I think we all expect young boys to lose, Leipzig to win at home. I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to RB Leipzig. And then possibly the biggest game of the night. It is Porto against Shakhtar Donetsk. Both sides on 9 points, currently sitting second in the group. Obviously, if either team win, they will progress and the other will drop into the Europa League. For Porto, though, they can afford a draw because it was a 3-1 win in the away game earlier on in the group. It was a 3-1 victory for Porto that night. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for Porto again tonight, which will see them go through and Shakhtar drop into the Europa League. And then finally, it is Royal Antwerp taking on FC Barcelona. Antwerp currently sitting on absolutely 0 points. Barcelona looking to bounce back from another poor performance and a defeat to Girona at home at the weekend. So I think they'll play a slightly stronger side than they probably would like to, just because they do need to stamp some authority and they want to make sure that they guarantee top spot in this group. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Barcelona. I don't think it's going to be emphatic, although Antwerp have been pretty poor in this tournament. But that is going to round off my predictions for today, my predictions for the Champions League group stages. I will, of course, be back with more Champions League predictions when the knockout stages commence. As for now, though, I will see you tomorrow for all of those Europa League and Europa Conference League final group stage matches. I'll see you then.